Because on those parts went out last week. The wind, it's keeping everybody away.
Or if that's the case, I'm thinking.
That one, there you go.
And so are you. So is Rich. So is Drew.
What I do?
If we don't get more kids showing up for tonight, you may have to take home pizza.
Or your 3 kids can eat
Yeah, so you guys have
up.
one pizza,
Your
you have
parents can
that.
have pizza too. There's pizza for parents also. It's not just for the kids, so help yourself.
You got a postcard, that's why you're here, right?
You got a postcard?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just wondering where everyone is.
Yeah, you got your postcard as well?
Yes.
No? They got mailed, I don't know where everyone is.
All we have to do is again, that's all.
Try me.
Those that show up, get the pizza.
It doesn't feel right.
You have to get the.
You have to get the handicap, but
Thank you all for attending. We are out of recession,
Session.
yeah. Out of our executive session. How's that sound? So with that, and that was on the summative evaluation of our superintendents. In case you don't know her, she's here to my right. So the meeting, so we want to do, so the results here. Right now, during discussion. Okay.
Or are you ready to say?
I think they're ready. I guess we need a motion to approve the evaluation.
I'll make a motion to approve the evaluation, covered in executive session.
I second.
Any discussion?
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. Ulrich?
yes.
And Mr. Osterly?
Yes.
And I had no call to the public, sir.
Brett,
Okay.
kick it down.
Fantastic. On 7, the admin report.
Keep the music down a little bit on that.
Is someone else on the line? Okay, hi Ben, thank you for joining us, Ben from Gallagher. Okay, you can just mute. Thank you.
So since we don't have a call to public, that takes us to the special education report.
Okay, so Miss Stacy Bertram had an emergency and had to leave the state. So I told her that I would report for her, and then any specific questions, she can follow up next month. Okay, so. Okay, so on her report, we're giving the COGAT evaluation. So it's from the list of state board-approved tests of gifted education. So we chose the COGAT, and this is a Riverside Insights evaluation. We utilize other academic evaluations from this site for identification of students with exceptional special needs. So we are screening all K-8 students that have been identified and referred through multi-modalities methods, teacher referral, parent referral, and looking at our NWA formative assessment scores. They're reviewed to identify students that are achieving at or above the 94th percentile. So students are served to attain a score at or above the 94th percentile. So additional evidence may be submitted to support additional testing or probationary placement. So that means in some cases where there's a discrepancy between what the teacher and the parent are saying versus how the students did on the assessment, we can reevaluate what else is needed to show that the student is above that standard or above mastery in that area. So again, information from achievement testing, we're looking at state assessment, aims, and NWA map. Observations and samples of the student's work can be offered as support and parent and/or classroom information. So where do we stand? There are 19 students who have completed the evaluations, and there are 6 more students awaiting evaluation results. And Ms. Romanelli did finish giving the results to us today, which we can update you on where we are in May. So there are currently 6 students of the 19 who have qualified for gifted education to date. So gifted students qualify for an IEP. Gifted students identified as scoring in the 94th percentile or above are eligible for gifted extensions to classroom instruction. So Mrs. Cuevas, Ms. Stacy Bertram, and myself are going to tour SOPRI and Amado with Sahuarita School District to look at potentially providing additional services for our students. Right now, Sahuarita students are being given services at SOPRI, and they go 1 day a week for grade level services. So we want to go see if that's a possibility once we identify more students until we actually hire a gifted ed teacher to service our students. That's not the only option, because we do have an in-house option in our scope and sequence and how we'll service students. But if parents don't agree with the models that we have in our school, then it may be an option to do the intergovernmental agreement with Sahuarita in the meantime. ADE Multiplier allocates $75 per student to fund gifted education. So again, that's going to give us, those 9 students is going to give us $450 to look at what we want to do to service the students. So again, there are unfunded mandates that we are looking at, but we definitely are excited by the fact that we do have students that are identified, and we are going to be doing second grade screeners for all the second graders. Just came in as well, so we'll be working towards identifying more students. So please jot down your questions, or are there any questions now that I can refer to? But again, we can follow up in May. Any questions?
Okay. With that, we'll move on to our Director of Preschool, Dr. Chen.
Okay, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about our preschools. And things are going well. We have pretty much the same mission statement as the school, except we do add to something. Currently, we have 24 4 to 5-year-olds, 16 are pre-K, 8 are continuing in the dual language class, and the 14 in the special education for the inclusion classes, and 10 in general. And actually, we have 15 now because we just had a transfer from Syria of special ed students. So we have 44 currently. These are the categories the different children are classified as. So we have all of our special ed students are also receiving speech services. 6 of them receive occupational therapy. We have 2 students receiving physical therapy, 5 developmental delay, 3 identified autism, and you can see the rest of that. Those are just the different categories that we serve. The cost to parents, as you know, last year we came to you and asked for a tuition raise, and we did go up to $160 per week, which is based on a $32 day. Our part-time sessions are $26 per day. We have students on 2, 3, and 5 day schedules, and this year we only have 1 student on a 2-day schedule. Everyone else is on a 3 or 5 day schedule, which I think is really good. We've kept our dual language class to all full day kids, pretty much, so that's been pretty good. After school care went up to $60 per week, including the early out days. That's been pretty manageable. And we have gotten some grants this year. So DES, I think that's on a different slide. I'll talk about that when I get to it. Go ahead and go to the next grade. So this is our revenue so far, $185,677. 93% of our expenditures are salary, which is important, and this is a great slide. We're doing okay with our finances, which is great. Go ahead to the next one. Open enrollment, we have 11 open enrolled students right now, 4 staff children. We had about 20 kids on our waiting list for this year that never got served. So just so you know. Current class going to kindergarten, there'll be 27 out of our total 44 children. The rest of them are too young, that's why they're not going to kindergarten. Current kindergarten children who attended preschool here was 20 out of 64 kids. 5 of those were virtual only. And current first grade children who attended preschool here is 20 out of 70 in a population of first grade. So we're pretty much maintaining that same, third of the population each year. This is kind of our schedule through the day. It's pretty standard. I've gone over this with you before. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain that. We did add coding this year and teaching the children to code with robots, which is really fun. That's been really neat. So that's an addition this year. Go ahead and do the next one. This is just our staff, and we have staff that have been with me for 16 years and then also half year. So we have 2 new people this year, and so just the longevity of the people there. This year, the trainings we've had, the DES is now requiring 12 hours for new hires, which we have to do right when they're hired. Our Quality First coach comes in monthly, and we do a book group. We're doing a book called Loose Parts 4 this year, which is about learning and using materials that are commonly found, like rocks and sticks and castaway items, things like that. Also, I do quite a few trainings with my staff. We meet every Monday for 2 hours. And also we do participate in the staff trainings. We also pay for our staff to go to conference workshops, such as the Southern Arizona Association for the Education of Young Children. And we just see their books that we've studied. And I did put on there. So this year we were really lucky because DES gave us a grant to help pay for childcare, and they did this last year as well. Which what they did is they took the amount that we were collecting. We have about 12 kids on DES, which stands for Department of Economic Security. They take the amount that we would bill for, which maybe is like $3,200, and then they give us the balance of that, so it goes up to $5,000 each month, which has been really nice. And then also we had a stabilization grant, which is another $5,000 every month. So that was really a great grant for us to have to help support us being independent as a preschool. So any grant I see, I always apply for it. Greg will tell you I'm always like looking for the money. So we did do a big fundraiser this year to purchase shade for our playground, and we had a lot of parent participation. And we are going to be able to purchase some shade for our sandbox. So we're very excited about that. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I'm not asking for tuition raise this year. No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for our superintendent.
Okay, there's a picture there. on the front of one of our families at Science Night that I thought was a really cute picture. So again, thank you, governing board members, members of the community and staff for being here. And so just quick updates, attendance update and registration. So attendance for today, we had 53 students absent. We have the stomach bug and fever going out Friday. A lot of our students went home and sick, so we're thinking that that's why they're still out. 0 on quarantine and isolation, and registration for next year is slow and steady. You see the enrollment slide that we are just down 3 students from where we were at the end of year last year at this time. And we are still less 37 students from prior year, end of year 1920. School choice on where our students. So we're looking at based on our withdrawal codes and records requests. We also wanted to follow up on how many of our students are homeschooled. So homeschooled students based on Pima County records, we currently have 104 Continental students being homeschooled. So there's 29 at the elementary age, 32 in middle school, and 43 in high school. We were looking at our withdrawals this school year, so there were 94 students who started the school year with us who have withdrawn. So 23 have gone to Sahuarita, 6 in Vail, 6 in TUSD. We have 8 who have enrolled in charter schools, and there's some of the schools that are listed there. We have 5 students who have registered who withdrew to virtual academies, 4 to Phoenix, 11 students out of state, and 12 students where we did not receive any records requests, so we don't know where they are. So when you look at open enrollment, our current open enrollment for school this year is 110 students are here on open enrollment. And you can see last year we had 122, year before 64, and the year before that 85. So just an update on where our kids are, and the homeschooling number has been high. We did request to see what it was for the last couple of years, so we'll follow up with that information to the board as to where we are.
The virtual students, are they in the Continental virtual?
No.
Okay.
No, they've gone to either Arizona Pathways or they've gone to Mesa Virtual, but not ours.
Okay.
Okay, federal title grants update and tax credit. So our title grants, federal title grants are decreasing by 28,000 next school year. So it'll be a total of 67,000. So just to update everyone, our Title I grants, we pay for our reading coach, we pay for salaries for our programmatic assistants, we pay for curriculum materials that teachers need, trainings, professional development, and specific materials and supplies is what we typically order out of. Like our AVID is funded by title. Our special ed director, part of the salaries. So as much of salaries that we can, instead of taking them out of our M&O budget, we take out of federal funds. IDEA, which is our special ed, preschool, and special ed. We have a total for next year of 142,000, which is going to be 12,000 less than what we had this year. Our tax credits amounts received for the last 3 years. You can see calendar years. So calendar year 2020, we received 111,000. Calendar year for 2021 was 101,000. And this year, we have received 54,000. So Mr. Schubert reminded me that calendar year is January to end of year, so that 54,000 is just from January to now. Okay, so we're on track and even ahead where we are. We'll be sending out a robocall and put a place on PTC and our website to just say last chance tax credit donations for this year's taxes are due by April 14th. So again, get your tax credits in if you want them to apply for this year's taxes.
Do we know kind of how those receipts happen during the year? I mean, how much of our annual tax credit money we get in the first quarter, second, third, fourth?
We can look at that definitely.
It'd be interesting since the tax year doesn't follow the fiscal year, so it might be interesting to see. Because I look at 54,000, knowing that there's probably people, including me, that made tax credit to apply to the 2021 taxes.
Yes.
In the first quarter of this year, and that would concern me that it's currently at 54 if I don't know what the historical has been.
Yes, yes, we can definitely get that information. Good question. Town hall meeting, so we did not have the parental and student participation that we anticipated to gather information on our next steps and refinements of school procedures and curriculum needs. We sent out robocalls, and I wish more of our students were here because one of our concerns is that sometimes parents don't answer the robocalls or they don't pick up or don't finish. So, and what was interesting is last year we changed the robocall number and it's not a continental number. Because what we were finding is people were not picking up the robocalls when we were calling for the nurse or, actually calling because we had a sick student or something was wrong, parents were not answering. So we changed the robocall number, which other districts do, and it's a 1-888 or a 720, it's a different area code, which I think we need to let our parents know that's the robocall number because I know I don't answer other area code numbers typically, or sometimes it comes in as potential spam.
Right.
So we can also print a report after the robocalls to see if people are actually answering. So we went back to look at the report for the town hall. So there were 725 calls made. There were only 22 confirmed answered calls. And there were 334 not confirmed or answered, and there were 368 messages left. So in addition to that, a special email was sent directly to the 80 students on our DNF report that was sent on behalf of Mrs. Cuevas, Mr. Nathan, and I. We advertised the town hall at school. We had flyers on the PTC Facebook pages, and the advertisement boards were placed around town at the corner, at the bottom of the hill, and outside. So a few takeaways and things to consider. We heard that with the family events, there were too many, and we talked about structuring them a little bit different so that they're more meaningful. So when we met with the 301 committee, we already talked about maybe combining the math and science night so that you're not coming out science night and then coming out math night, coming out literacy night. So we're working on that. People would like to see a syllabus from classes as to what's being taught with clear expectations. And we are going to be posting curriculum on our website, and we'll talk a little bit about that so that parents will have a more general idea of what is being posted. But we know that on our monthly newsletters that we are going to reinstate that we want to put the curriculum corner there for parents to know exactly what's being taught at those grade levels. And also feedback was from some of our middle school students. We've heard this before, but one was voicing it there that lockers be reinstated in the middle school to avoid back problems in the future. Our class size update, I know this also came up during town hall, and we have talked about it with our governing board members. So just looking, I wanted to just show our current class sizes, 28 classes, kinder through 8th grade. So you can see there the numbers of the students enrolled. So if you look at kindergarten, you see that Ms. Oberson has 20, Ms. Tesso has 21, and Ms. Mejia has 23, and down the line. So we currently have 3 classes that have over 25 students out of the 28. We currently have 10 classes with 20 or less students. 3rd grade is the highest, and they've been the highest since kinder, with 80 students at that grade level. So if we looked at potentially adding a 4th teacher, that would bring the class size down to 20 for 4th grade next year. Okay. Student advisory, climate surveys and marketing. So we meet with our student advisory kids monthly, and we really had been discussing with them our rating on greatschools.com. So our rating was a 2.8 stars, and it's currently 4.5, which rounds up to 5 stars based on 51 reviews. So we had conversations with our students in terms of public perception of what people think about Continental and the positive publicity and marketing our school and ideas they have on how to do that. We also shared our ELA curriculum that's on public display. So again, parents, we will be recommending the curriculum to our governing board that's behind you. So if you want to look at it, let your friends know, come and see it. But we're excited that it has a Spanish component for our dual language kids. We'll also be able to see that. Family Science Night, again, thank you to our 301 Science Committee. We had a great turnout despite the rainy day. And there's some pictures of our staff and students at Science Night. One thing that we thought of at our nights is maybe pulling the parents for 10 or 15 minutes to give a quick snippet of, let's talk about Reville Math and look at where it is on our website and how you know what's being taught. Let's look at our reading curriculum and vice versa. Special recognition, Mrs. Quillen, our special ed middle school teacher and programmatic assistants just deserve a huge thank you for always going beyond the call of duty to teach and keep our students motivated to learn. They're amazing, and students were recognized for demonstrating growth in MWA formative assessments between benchmarks 1 and 2. And she did it now because she wants the kids to really focus on the next benchmark so that we can also award them. So she had them in the foyer there at middle school. She had a list of the top students who showed the most growth, and she goes beyond the call of duty. She spends her own money buying all these neat art sets and puzzles and things that the kids are interested in that she lets them pick from. So donations will be accepted for end of the year prizes for her end of the year award. So I told her that I would share with the board. Generation Schools Network, I spoke a little bit about this. They will be coming in to support our leadership team. They will be here on our learning walks on Tuesday, April 26th. And again, board members, if you can attend with us at that time, it would be great. Mr. McGibbon attended a learning walk with us, and we'd like to have you all come and participate in our learning walks. But they are going to help us develop a customized turnaround leadership program that allows for guided team review of the 4 domains of school improvement with coaching to create a big win strategy and instructional way for our school, guidance and coaching to determine 30, 60, and 90-day plans that go along with our strategic plan with each of our directors and their departments. Okay, meet and confer. So we did meet with meet and confer. We will be sharing responses with meet and confer to the groups will be completed by April 20th. So I will be sharing the drafts. I'm waiting for some of the groups to send me their Google Docs so we can respond. I'll be sharing the responses and reviewing them with Mr. Schubert and Mr. McGibbon and Mr. Osterling. Will meet with the teams on the 20th. Time is to be determined. No, it is. Does it have your name on there? Oh, sorry. No, it was not. It was just Mr. Osterling and Mr. McGibbon because Mr. Ullery was on a nice trip somewhere. Chose to be. Okay, school needs assessment update. So, we've talked a lot about identifying school needs assessment. Outcomes are working on the fishbones being developed, and we will be working on action plans that will be submitted to ADE on or before April 30th. And our state testing updates, all science tests in grades 5th and 8th have been completed. Students have completed writing and ELA Part 1. We still have ELA Part 2, math, and 3rd grade oral reading fluency. All testing will be completed on April 21st. We have until April 29th to complete makeups, and so far we have 25 students on our makeup test list. And this is our anticipated dates of receiving our testing results. So May 14th, we will have the report for third grade ELA and math. On May 25th, we will get the report for the rest of the grade levels 4 through 8. And then June 15th, we'll have paper copies of the scores that will be delivered to districts and charters, which we in turn email home to our families, the results. Climate survey update. So responses thus far are below. We are closing the window for surveys on April 30th. Again, a reminder to please continue to get them done. Our goal is to double the response rate. So to date, we have 45 staff members who have filled it out. Last year, we had 44. Students, we have 193 so far. Last year, we had 264. Parents, we had 50 current, and last year we had 52. So we'll be sending out messages to get those done. Career fair results. Our job fair was held on Saturday. So again, thank you to staff who participated. We had people apply and interview for the following positions. We had 1 teacher, 3 substitute teachers, and 5 programmatic assistants. It was the first career fair that Continental has done, so we felt pretty positive about people that came in to pick up applications.
I'll turn mine later.
Oh, sorry. Many inquiries and some people took home applications, so we were pretty happy about that. Okay, and response to call to the public. So our Continental administrative team responds to questions and call to the public with direct contact with our constituents as soon as possible. Questions are resolved with the appropriate staff, and it's always our goal to reach a win-win situation and understanding. We continue to encourage our governing board members to refer parents and community members directly to the site to resolve questions and concerns prior to them getting to a response or call to the public. So if there's things or lack of communication or things that we can clarify beforehand, of course, that's what we would like to do, is be proactive. We are working on updating our teaching and learning curriculum on our website, which will be completed by the end of the summer. The page will consist of Arizona College and Career Ready standards. Links to existing curriculum and book lists used in all content areas will be posted, and we will work diligently to ensure we're complying with any and all legislative bills that are passed, which require our attention. So right now, if you go to our website and it'll say district information, there's a link there that says teaching and learning /curriculum, and it will take you to a lot of our sites that we're already using. The standards are there, Reveal math information is there, our ELA, there's information on Beyond textbooks, so there's a lot of curriculum information there for parents. And it does have a little sign that says under construction, because we will continue to add to it between now and the end of summer. Okay, so again, as a reminder, this is not the opportunity for questions or discussion, but if there's anything you'd like to see on the agenda for next meeting, please let me know. Thank you, that concludes my report.
Can I let you know now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to know how many students were down from the 2018-2019 school year, which is the pre-COVID year. And have you considered texting instead of robocalls?
So the robocall goes out as a text and an email and a call.
Okay.
So that it goes out all 3 ways.
And what is the cost of the Generation Schools?
$8,000 is the cost for that, and it is out of our ESSER funds. Part of the ESSER funding was to work on leadership and professional development. So that is what we chose as a team to go with.
Roxana,
Yes.
the 19 school year enrollment, that is a solid number because we basically just didn't finish the 4th quarter. So that was our full enrollment for 1920.
But what was it for 18-19?
With that we can put up, but the 1920 is an accurate number because we basically finished 3 of the quarters and we're only 4th quarter online. But we can get you those numbers.
All right, thank you.
So now for the fun part. Ms. Cuevas is going to lead us in our special recognition and the introduction of the cult of the month.
Say your name and your grade. Your name? Elena Frank? Hey, drop. So Elena Smith was nominated by Mrs. Rodriguez, her first grade teacher. Elena is kind to her peers and teachers every day. She uses her classroom materials and school playgrounds safely. Elena is responsible because she comes to school regularly and completes her work on time. Congratulations, Elena.
I'm Michaela and I'm in 6th grade.
So Michaela was nominated by all of the middle school staff. She's a 6th grader here at Continental. Michaela is a thoughtful person. She does all of her work well and timely. When she finishes her work, she helps others in her groups, and she makes sure their work is well done. She brightens up each day with her smile. Congratulations and great job at being kind, safe, and responsible, Michaela. And if we could have Elena and Michaela come stand up here for right now, and then we're going to take a picture in a little bit. And next, we'd like to present our Staff Golden Horseshoe Award, which serves as our Employee of the Month. And for our teacher, we have nominated a teacher who's been here for quite some time. Kindergarten teacher who has been very dedicated to her craft, loves her children, and not only the children in her classroom, but the children in all the grade levels and in her kindergarten pod. She's always welcome and open to helping others, and also those students that might need a little extra support and help. She has one of the biggest, kindest hearts. She gives a lot to our school in regards to donations, and especially when we have our foundation gala, she does so much for that. So that is Lorraine Mejia. And then for our support staff, we have someone who's always here every morning with a smile, making us laugh outside, engaging with the students. They can always go to him if they need help. He has that friendly smile, that kind nature, and also a very big heart. Can always be counted on, is extremely dedicated, and he's a big part of our Continental family. We want to thank you. We call him Mr. Ben, but it's Ben Petersdorf. He could be one of our monitors for outside recess. And he's a Packers fan. Go Pack, go. Thank you. Good job.
Great, thank you. So with that, we'll move on to more board stuff. Y'all are welcome to stay, or you need to get home, that's fine as well. Or a little bit of both.
Yes, please take pizza.
Yeah, take pizza.
Please take pizza. Okay. We know it's a school night,
Thank
and we
you,
know
guys.
you may have homework and stuff to get to, so thank you very, very much. Congratulations.
Right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
So that brings us to number 10, the consent agenda. Which, we have moved one of the items. We have a motion on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move the approval of the consent agenda. I'll second.
Any discussion?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have a question. A couple of things. One, the compensation. When was the last time we did a compensation analysis?
We haven't done an official compensation analysis. We did 3 years ago. We typically look at comparisons, and Ms. Alonso will look at district comparisons to look at adjusting incoming rates for starting salaries for new people. But we have not done an official one if you are referring to a specific company or to that line.
Okay. And then the other thing, I guess we pulled the vouchers off of here, did we?
Right, yes.
All right. That's all.
So I have two questions, a correction. The minutes from the 321 meeting, this is just terminology. But I think I was corrected when I originally made the motion on the financial statements and the audit report that we were to accept. It was to accept, not approve. And if you could just correct that, to accept the audit report. And second, on the field trip request to Desert Sky Cinema Middle School, there was absolutely no purpose listed for this on the document.
So when the eighth graders go on their trip to
Civics.
the civics to Washington DC, this is something for those that aren't going to be able to have something to do during that time.
Okay, what is it? I mean,
It's just going to see a movie, just going to the theater for a movie.
Okay.
For 1 day or 2?
I believe it's just the 1 day. And we did something similar with them last year when the civics trip did this, the tour of their own. So the remaining eighth graders that didn't go on that trip had a day where I believe it was also a day.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. It was just blank.
Yeah.
It was just blank.
Anything else?
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Tice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Osborne?
Approved. Mr. Gray, this brings us to you.
Yes,
Report
sir.
of
So-
District financial. Got an A and a D.
So for the district financial report, you have the report within your packets. You also have your budget versus actual, which is showing everything from all the categories of what's been budgeted and what has actually been either spent or encumbered. So I'm more than happy to open that up for discussion and answer any questions that y'all may have.
Two. On the district financial report, the overall M&O budget is listed at $7,176,000, which varies by $32,000 from the budget revision number 2 that we approved on December 2021. What's the difference between the two budgets?
I'll have to double check and take a look.
Okay, I mean, it's not a significant amount.
Yeah, I'll have to double check and
But
see.
it's just different, and it tracks with the budget and actual exhibit. It's just that it varies from the
From what we have approved, I'll have to double check and see.
December budget revision. And just a clarification, if I'm reading this correctly, we still have $142,000 of unspent funds in ESSER 2 and 3? Would that be correct?
That seems about accurate.
Okay.
Some of that money is still earmarked for things like summer schools and summer interventions and things like that. So there are things that's budgeted for that we just haven't come across yet.
And then just a clarification on the budget versus actual report. On the right side of that report, Greg, you've got a
Like check amounts.
board report and data entry, and there's a difference. Can you just explain what that is?
So that difference that you see there is the 600 codes. Because that 600 code doesn't fall with a 1,000 or a 2,000. Because it's basically where we pay coaches out of, it's where we pay club leaders out of. So it doesn't exactly fall into a 1,000 or 2,000, it's intermixed. But having those numbers there in my check, then it matches straight up with those 600 codes.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
that's how I was doing my double checks on it.
Need a motion to approve item A, the district financial report?
I move to approve.
Second. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Allen?
Yes?
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
And Mr. Osterman?
Yes.
And we'll move on to the new 11B, approval of the vouchers. So before we have a discussion, I believe we need to have a motion and a second.
I'll move to approve the vouchers.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion?
I pulled this item from the agenda for a couple of reasons. Number one, it seems that there's always a lot of questions here, and I'm just wondering if we should not have payroll vouchers not as part of the consent agenda. But I have a question on the payroll vouchers. Number one, I couldn't see the voucher number that was on there for both of the payroll vouchers. If you could just tell me the blank voucher number that we signed that is aligns with that.
Not within the packets. Please.
Mr. O'Leary, I believe it's 001 on that one, but I'll double check.
Which number?
001,
10010.
yes.
Okay, no, 0010 was there. I tracked that. It's the two payroll vouchers. You just couldn't read the number at the top.
I can go get you the number right now.
Okay.
But it was on the packet. Voucher 19.
Yeah, but the actual, the top number's
No,
cut
it's-
off.
And it's not cut off, that's the number.
No. What he's asking.
The document number.
There's a digit missing.
There's a digit. Sorry about that, sir. We'll pull those for you right now. Get you.
The only other question I have on the payroll vouchers is I noticed 4 items. There were 2 items totaling about $550. And for a Martha Hoff and another $700, almost $800 to Martha Cruz. These were two new certificated teachers, or certified teachers that were just hired. And they don't start yet until the 1st of August. I'm wondering why they had expenses attributable to those two individuals on the expense voucher. Were these travel costs for interviews?
They're currently substitutes.
They're substitutes.
Oh, they're
this
currently
school year.
substitutes. Okay, thank
They're
you.
gonna be
That
hired
answers
next
the
school year.
question.
I apologize for the number being cut off, but payroll voucher 19 is 0009,
0009, okay.
and number 20 is 0012.
Thank you much.
Yes.
That's it.
Roll call. Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
And Mr. Austin?
Yes. That takes us to number 12, new business.
Okay, again, Ms. Stacy Bertram apologizes that she is not here to have this further discussion on our gifted program, proposed scope and sequence. So ADE is requiring that each school provide a scope and sequence for gifted ed. So this is her program design scope and sequence that she has completed, that Mrs. Cuevas and I and Ms. Romanelli have also worked with her and vetted information on the report. So again, it is ADE's request that governing boards approve the scope and sequence prior to us sending it to them. So being that she is not here, I don't know if you would like to move for approval in May, or if you're okay with now approving it so we can send it to ADE. In the document, it talks about how the group will deliver, how we will deliver services to students K-8. So again, we talked about servicing students in the 95th percentile, but we do have a plan within the scope and sequence to look at either training teachers to differentiate within the classroom for enrichment. Also, cluster grouping is very common, where you pull students from the 6th and 7th stay 9s to work with the students, the 8 and 9 stay 9 students as well, so that they're, you know, if the students choose to not be in a separate pull-out program. So there's different things that we could look at in servicing our gifted kids.
Superintendent Ricker, this is an 18-page document. This is really an important, I think, item. I do have a few questions, and I would move to table this item to May unless there's a compelling reason why it has to be approved before that.
It doesn't, so that's good, understood.
I would second that motion.
I believe we have till July 1st to get it to 80.
And if you could send us your questions that you might have ahead of time so that I can bring it to Michelle's attention to, so she can clarify in me. Thank you.
Is that a motion or a second? Roll call vote. Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. Allery?
Yes.
And Mr. Austin?
Yes.
Who seconded? It was Mr.
I
McGivern.
did.
Okay.
And now a tweak to the 22-23 school calendar item.
Okay, like it says on the rationale, there was an oversight on needed record stay prior to fall break, which typically happens for teachers, so we'd like to recommend that you approve the revised calendar. The school days remain the same at 175, which is where we are this year. So we were trying to figure out why we were over a date, and then we realized why we weren't.
I would just comment that there's some missing pieces here. We show the first day of school, but I don't see the last. And we show 2 quarter start dates, 2 first quarter dates, but not 4.
we can look and clear that up as well and bring it back to the May meeting with the detailed calendar.
We're gonna move on to May. We need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion to.
I think those were just administrative corrections.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it as amended with administrative correction.
Second,
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
yeah.
Mr. McKibben?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Oshland?
Yes. Well, and for those of you that want to eat here in the cafeteria, the price is going up for you adults.
Well, not yet, not yet. So every few years, the Child Nutrition Department within the Department of Education comes out and does an administrative review of our food service program. One of the things that they found is that our adult meal pricing is way too low. Their reasoning behind that is that as it is a meal that is supposed to go to a child and doesn't, that we have to recoup the cost of the reimbursement rate and the cost of food for an adult meal. This would mean that we would have to change our adult meal pricing to $4.85 per meal. That does not affect our a la carte pricing, which would mean a meal that does not have, that has 3 or less components on it, as far as the meal service program is concerned. So if somebody wants to go up and just have some fruit, some vegetables, and the protein, that would remain with the a la carte pricing. But if they wanted the grains and then the milk and everything else that goes along with it, it would be the full price of the $4.85. So with that, I bring that to you for your approval and making this effective as of April 18th. This way we have a week to get the word out to our staff that the adult meal prices are going to have to go up. And we can also explain to them as well the difference between a full meal and the a la carte.
And the price now is?
3 1/4.
Okay. Wow.
Well, I will certainly make the motion to have the price increase.
Second,
And I'm frankly surprised, that's still a bargain in mind. Just knowing what food is done, I hope. So,
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
yes.
Mr. McKibben?
yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Oshland?
Yes. Item D, authorization for the superintendent to approve fundraisers.
I can do it. So tonight, we're bringing before you a resolution to a finding that we had within our audit. And that is for the superintendent to be authorized to approve fundraisers in the following categories. Any clothing type fundraisers, anything for food, snacks, or concessions. If we were to have any gate fees for any performing arts or athletic events. So if we wanted to put on our drama club put on a show for the public to come to see, she could approve that. Any school dances, and any banner or other types of advertising. So if Mr. McGibbon wanted to advertise his ranch out on the baseball field, Ms. Rico could go ahead and make that approval. And the reason behind us bringing this to you is within our policy, policy JJE. It states that the fundraising activities by students on school premises or elsewhere as representatives of the school district will be permitted only for those type of fundraising activities approved by the governing board, which is what we're asking you to approve tonight are those activities. And when connected with specific activities, it's approved by the superintendent. So we're asking for you to approve these fundraising type of activities that the superintendent would be able to go ahead and allow. And this would allow us, so when at the last moment we get the yo-yo guy coming in and we're having his presentation and then we're selling yo-yos afterwards, we can get that done without having it become a finding within our audits. So tonight we're bringing that for you guys to approve.
I will make a motion for the superintendent to approve the listed fundraisers.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
There's no yo-yos. I'm not quite sure what that meant.
Those ones-
Last year, we had a fundraiser, but we had a presentation that had to deal with yo-yos. And at the end of the presentation, they were selling,
Yes, the toy yo-yos.
they were actually selling, the kids were buying yo-yos and yo-yo holsters and
You've got yo-yos in the Cold Buck store right now, I think, though, because I've been collecting yo-yos.
Well, and so what happened again in response to the audit, because we were able to take advantage of the speaker to come in a short notice, that he was available, and then it resulted in hyping the kids up about yo-yos and selling them, but we didn't have it board approved the month before. So this is the auditor's resolution in what a lot of districts are doing in order to avoid that, being able to take companies up on great offers that may arise. That'll help our school.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Osborne?
Yes. Item E, the Mesa Unified School District and the Continental Intergovernmental Agreement Extension.
Okay, so again, this is, we do use, have our IGA with Mesa Unified School District that offers online services for students that is separate from our virtual school.
No, they provide,
they provide the curriculum.
They
provide the
provide the
curriculum and
curriculum
teachers.
for it. And this year we had how many students?
5
5
attempts.
students that were taking part.
Well, they attempted.
Right, attempted but didn't complete, because what we're finding is that it is very difficult for kids to keep up with the online school. But nevertheless, we would like to continue using Mesa Distance Learning Program.
What does this
for
cost?
service.
It doesn't, there isn't a cost associated with it until students complete the courses. And then with the AD and reimbursement, it's, I don't know the pricing off the top of my head, but what is the ADM cost or ADM funding for online schools?
It depends on how many hours of online curriculum there are.
So a full-time student.
It depends on how much time they spend. Take a year-long course, the student's expected to be in that course for 800 hours, whatever it is. If the student completes that course of study in 400 hours, it's an ADM charge of a 0.5. And we can't be charged any more than a 1.25 for the student to complete the course.
So on an AOI, though, what funding do they generate for the district, though?
It's the same AOI funding, it's just under what the funding level is for,
So
So the cost for one student, I think, off the top of my head, was somewhere around $1,800 that Mesa would charge us, but then we're receiving $4,800 or $4,900 from the state in ADM funding for that student.
So it's a net gain.
yes.
What we can do is add an agenda item to May that will.
And that was in the previous, the pricing and all that was in the previous approval of the AOI school. The pricing was included.
We can
the
report on the 5 students that attended and how long they attended and why they did not complete.
And I would assume we have some historical data as to what the revenue was to the district, say, for the last year or two by
This was a
being in
new
this
thing as of
program,
last year, so there isn't.
and what we spent.
We didn't spend.
I mean, this may be fine. I think we just need to know is who's really benefiting from it and what are the cost benefit involved.
So that was started for this school year for the AOI that the governing board approved at the beginning of the year. So we haven't had any costs associated with it or any ADM generated because the students did not even complete a month's worth of work before being administratively dropped by MDLP for non-attendance.
Are they attending in person now or?
No, they went to a different online school.
Online school, yeah.
And it was out of our district then.
Mhm.
So we lost those 5 students.
Yes.
And those were our only students in the online learning.
They weren't all in at the same time. They went in at various times, but they just didn't. They didn't keep up on their end of their commitments, what they were supposed to do.
So the program that we passed at the beginning of the year, the online school, and we contracted with Mesa to provide the learning. We had 5 students to go into that.
Yes.
0 students completed,
Correct.
and there was no cost.
Correct.
So Mesa's not even charging us for the administrative fee of managing that.
Because they didn't complete enough time in or do enough work for that online teacher to even administer.
So we have this online program, are we still recruiting for it?
We are, but for the most part, people don't take advantage of it, and the ones that do want to take advantage of it are the students that would not benefit from an online school, because they aren't the type of students that can be in an online school.
Obviously, our main goal is to have our students here, but we do have conversations with parents when they're looking at alternative situations. And one thing that has happened and why we have not recommended our AOI is if it's in the middle of the quarter, because the courses start from the beginning through the quarter or through the semester.
Correct.
So we explain to parents and kids it's very, very hard to start in the middle of a quarter in order to complete.
Or even start in the middle of the semester, because it assumes that they are at a certain point in the curriculum.
Right.
And so they either can't make it up or they're too far behind, and it just becomes pretty overwhelming at that point.
Have we had exit interviews with those parents and students?
No.
So this is like an online tutor?
No. It's an online curriculum with instructors. So it is part of Mesa's distance learning. So it's part of Mesa Unified School District. Their MDLP is the Mesa Distance Learning Program. So that is Mesa's AOI school, state authorized AOI school. So we're utilizing the curriculum, which is to align to state standards and to their highly qualified teachers. Because we don't have the staff to administer online instruction ourselves.
But Mesa Distance Learning does
Does.
provide the separate tutoring and the meetings with the kids, the tutorials and the conversations with the parents. It just is proven, we've seen that it's at a level of difficulty that our parents and our kids are not prepared to catch up with.
Why, do we know why those kids wanted to enroll in online school to begin with? Was it?
We do know, and sometimes it's just if they're struggling. I mean, we had kids who, with COVID and coming back to school, were still not willing to come back full time.
There were 2 students who have a lot of out of school activities that actually caused them to miss a lot of in-person schooling. And that was the whole reason for them to want to go online, for that flexibility of not having to be in a classroom every day.
And what did we
But-
call this? We had a name for it.
It's Colts K8.
Colts.
K8.
It's K.
Colts K8.
Oh. Has it outlived its usefulness? I mean, we really did this
Not-
in response.
I mean, it hasn't outlived its usefulness. It's something that's an option that can be available to, the right set of students.
If it doesn't cost us anything to sit there, say we don't have a single student use it for the next 3 years, and then we get a kid who's got cancer and undergoing chemotherapy and can't come into school, that's something that they could take
That's an
advantage
option
of.
that's available, yes.
So
the
you're-
IGA is the intergovernmental agreement that when we do have a student that will enroll, then, we follow all the protocols and
So
procedures.
you want there's an option, a
Yes.
tool and a tool chest, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And so if it just sits there unused, doesn't cost us anything. And then when kids do take advantage of it, we profit from it.
If they complete the whole year, yes,
Get them to complete.
yes.
But there is no cost to us if they don't complete the whole year.
There will be if they say they go through like 40% of the, because it'll generate, you know, how you generate ADM funding. So with these 5 students, they didn't get to a certain point where it was going to generate a cost.
Would that be offset by income?
It should be.
ADM
It should be, yes.
Okay.
It just kind of depends on your enter and exit dates.
So if someone completed 75% of the course, and then ended up coming back to the classroom, the difference from that we get for the kid and the tuition for this online program would
It
make up
should
for-
offset each other, yes.
Mr. President, this is Cuevas had.
Yes.
The thing that I've seen is we've had some families that have moved and they wanted to start, and this was last month. 2 families who really wanted to see if they could utilize the online school because school year was almost over, but the program, it's like run by semester. So what they're ending up doing is, I don't know how it works at some of the other online schools. I looked at some of them online to research, and some of them offer 6-week courses. We don't do that. So I don't know how it could impact us if we could find a program that would do 6-week courses, if we would keep people
Well,
that would stay enrolled, but at what point in the year would we even?
it really boils down to, it's basically you either enter and exit at semester, because it's set up, their online courses and the curriculum is set up on a semester basis. So it's not a quarter, it's not a quarterly year-round type deal. It's set up semester, so many weeks, semester, so many weeks. That's the course for your core courses and your elective.
Okay.
We have a motion?
Did we ever we didn't get a
No, I
motion.
didn't have a motion or a second.
So you don't.
No.
I'll make a motion to continue our intergovernmental agreement with Mesa Unified School District through June 30th of 25.
I second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Osterly?
Yes. Now it's time to talk buses.
All right.
All right, so one of the things that I've done since I've come here is I've decided to start a capital budgeting committee. I ask for volunteers throughout the district. Doesn't matter what your position is, you're more than invited to attend the capital budgeting committee. Within that, we discuss how we're spending capital dollars for the upcoming school year. That way I know how to go ahead and prepare the budget for those. Last year, we decided that we were going to purchase a bus a year so that we could turn our fleet over and get, relatively more reliable transportation. This year, it started out with, well, let's just put $100,000 aside every year, and once we save up enough money, we'll purchase a bus. And then it got brought up with a leasing option. So what we have before you tonight is we have the ability, there are currently 4 buses in Phoenix that we can have by the end of the month. And there is a special ed bus, in Atlanta that we can have probably by the end of the school year. These buses aren't, when I say they're new, they are new, they've never been titled, but they are, one's a 2018, one's a 2019, and 2 are 2020s. These are buses that were ordered and the orders were canceled and they've just sat on the lot of the dealership. So what we're proposing tonight is to enter in a 5-year lease with Daimler Chrysler to lease purchase these buses. So let me make sure you understand that this lease purchase has to come out of our capital budget every single year. And we are going to tie up that $145,000 every year. The great thing about this is that at the end of the 5 years, the buses are ours. We don't turn them back in and lease 5 new ones, like on a vehicle lease. These are actually paid for and ours. Yes, sir.
If I recall, about 2018 or so, we had three different lease purchases. Are they concluded and all is done with the purchase of those terms?
Yes,
I don't remember the year, but,
yes. We have nothing on a lease purchase currently.
okay, so that's, okay,
Correct.
that was basically my question.
How
I
many
take that
buses-
back. We have some copiers that are on the lease purchase. Outside of those, there's nothing.
How many buses do we have?
We have a total of 14 buses.
And how many buses do we need?
Define need. We run 11 routes a day, so that gives us 3 buses right currently as a backup.
How many need to retire?
14 of them.
What are the model years of the current bus fleet?
Our oldest bus is a 98.
Are all 5 of these buses air conditioned?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And this comes with maintenance, including tires?
Yes, within the lease, it covers all the maintenance. So,
What, all
With the-
regular maintenance?
so with the bus that we purchased at the beginning of the year, if a light goes out on the driver's side, blinker goes out, we gotta replace that.
There's no warranty?
They are fully warranted.
So they've never been titled?
They've never been
No,
titled.
I'm
so-
saying on the bus that we purchased, that yet to be delivered, correct?
Correct.
If you're saying that the driver's side light goes out, we have to pay for it?
It's no different if the flasher in your car went out.
Well,
The only question I would say is, the bus has been sitting for 4 years, you might want to make sure the tires are
Yeah, put new tires on it.
good.
Everything-
It seems like such a little thing, but that's a very expensive item on a bus.
Everything on the buses are fine because they will be inspected by DPS prior to delivery. So DPS has to approve the bus before it can even go out on the road. So it'll have all its belts checked, it'll have all its hoses checked, the tires are checked, brakes checked. Everything that DPS does to inspect the bus to approve it to be used will be done prior to delivery.
I would still count on replacing those tires within the next year or two though.
Well, the great thing is that it'll be covered underneath the lease purchase and they will be covering us.
So it's $145,000 a year for 5 years,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's 5 buses.
Yes, ma'am.
And what would it be to purchase 5 buses today?
Right now, each bus would cost roughly $178,000 apiece.
Are we getting a deal on these because
Yes, we
they're
are.
older,
Yes, we are.
honestly?
And the reason why we're looking at doing as many buses as we can is, one, we can get these sooner rather than later. They don't have to be built. And I lost my train of thought.
Well, I think it's important also to know that right now, any commercial fleet account would expect almost at least a 3, maybe a 5% increase every 6 months minimum. So buying one of these buses next year, bare minimum, would be 4 or 5% probably, maybe higher.
The other piece that I had for you is the we'll just round it, the $150,000 we spent on the bus at the beginning of the year. That bus right now is $175,000.
Good God.
Next year, that bus is $190,000.
So much for 5%.
Yeah.
So we're getting a
So
really
we're
good fixed
getting
price.
older buses that haven't been titled. They still have minimal miles on them. And when I say minimal, I mean we're still talking less than 1,000 miles. So that's what we're looking at.
I think that's great, and honestly, in 2021, quality of car parts started going down, so I would rather get something older than 2020 anyways.
We have a motion.
I'll move to approve the new bus lease option.
So what we're talking about basically is buying 5 buses, or getting 5 buses now and paying for them over a 5-year period.
Yes, sir.
And then we own them.
Yes, sir.
And these 5 buses will replace the oldest buses in the fleet
Yes, sir.
that we can't maintain anymore?
We're running into problems with some of our older buses that, we have a bus that's sitting out of service right now because we can't find parts for the dash. I believe we have another bus that we had to put an odometer on the actual tire because we can't get parts to replace the odometer. So that way we can track how many miles it's going. So our fleet is the walking wounded.
You said 98.
Yes,
And
98.
they don't have air conditioning.
I'm not gonna answer that question one way or the other.
And so we're gonna have 19 buses in our fleet what do we do with the ones we're retiring? We'll sell them for scrap metal?
We will put them up for public auction. So once we figure out which of those buses that we're gonna get rid of, now we may not get rid of all 5. We may get rid of 3 and have 2 more for backups. That way, if a bus goes down, I have a spare bus to put kids in. Just last weekend, we had on one of our buses, I don't know what it's called, I'm not a mechanic by any means, but there's a piece that goes from the radiator to the engine that keeps the engine cool. And it cracked. So I had a bus full of kids sitting out by the library with a bus that couldn't be moved. So that's kind of the impetus of getting something like this done.
We could make food trucks.
I was just about to say,
And
I've
use
seen
them
those
as
RVs.
fundraisers.
Parts for advertising and marketing, we could park the buses Continental.
So do we have places to park all these?
Yes.
Okay.
How's it gonna impact our insurance?
The insurance naturally with, adding vehicles to our fleet, our insurance will go up, but again, we are in a pooled insurance, so it's not gonna make too much of an impact.
Well, and it would be offset if we get rid of these 5.
Yes. And not only that, but our maintenance costs will go way down on our vehicles. Our fuel economy goes up, so we won't be using as much fuel.
So the amounts that were listed as far as the value of these 5 buses were what the dealer said that they could
Yes.
sell them for today if we went out and bought them today.
Yes.
I would only make one recommendation based on personal experience, and that's, we sold a company semi for substantially more than we paid for it 15 years ago, about 60 days ago. And if you have any possibility of selling those in the next few months, I don't know if that's even a possibility, but sooner the better, because the market at the moment is very strange, but very beneficial to someone selling even a school bus. You'd be surprised.
The trade-in value on these, which is not even included, because the trade-in value on some of them are $500.
Well, yeah, that's what
And
you can get scrapped.
the others that have 0 trade-in value because they won't even make the trip to Phoenix to their lot.
The place that's covering the maintenance is in Phoenix. How do we get reimbursed? We still perform our own maintenance, or do we have to ship them to Phoenix?
These buses are up to lot in Phoenix.
Uh-huh,
They do have an office here in Tucson that they work out of.
okay.
And our mechanics for these also come out of Tucson.
So is it 4 buses and a sped bus?
Yes, ma'am. And the sped bus is currently in Georgia.
How'd you find these?
We have a really good relationship with a couple of the different bus manufacturers. And when we talked to them about what we were wanting to do, unfortunately, Bluebird was not able to provide us buses right now. Everything through Bluebird had to be built.
So there's Thomas then?
These are Thomas buses. And he actually has them on his lot.
Well, you're a lucky man to find them, because I think they're hard to find these days.
And a lot of this also goes to Mr. Lane and all the work that he put in on this. I don't want to make this sound like I did this. It's a lot of Mr. Lane.
On the record, we'll give him all the credit.
That's fine. I'm good with that as well.
Anytime you miss this.
And the last question I have is we're committing $700 and some odd thousand over the next 5 years.
Yes, sir.
How does that fit into how we look at the next 5 years from a capital needs standpoint?
Well, it definitely impacts us, because these funds will be locked up for the next
Are
5
we
years.
gonna have to give, what might we have to give up from a capital in order to do
Well,
this?
if you remember, we were looking at buying a bus every year. And this lease payment is nothing more than buying a bus at July of 21 rates versus July of 22, 23, 24, and 25, and so on the chain. Because as I said, those bus prices are going to do nothing but go up about $20,000 a year. So in the long run, it's better for us because we're purchasing at 2018, 2019, 2020, cost for a bus. Whereas if we were to do that one a year,
Greg, I don't disagree, but what this is telling us is that we are now obligated.
yes, we are.
When we were buying a bus a year, we gotta say, we really don't have the capital, this year to do that, we'll have to defer this. This just locks it in.
So we did discuss in our meeting with our committee in terms of furniture for classrooms. We do have a lot of furniture in storage. That's good furniture because we had already in the last 3 years phased in new desks and chairs, so we're good with that equipment. With our Chromebooks, that now that we have the one-to-one K-8, so we just know that we'll just need to look at replacing Chromebooks, which a lot of the funding for Chromebooks have come from our donors who support us, which we feel can still continue to do that for us. Our curriculum, since we're in our ELA curriculum, and that's gonna cover us for the next 5 years. We won't have money for ELA, and math is also gonna be covered for the next couple of years. So we're feeling like we're in a really good position to do this now based on what we've purchased in the past.
And that doesn't mean that in the future, we can't look at how much a new science curriculum is gonna cost us and things like that. Depending on cost of the curriculum that we haven't already gone out to procure, that may push some of that curriculum a year out. But if I don't have kids here to take the new curriculum, it's not gonna matter.
Roll call.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kice?
Yes,
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes.
And Mr. Osterling?
And our next to last event, the employee benefit proposal. I believe we have,
Ben Gallagher. Ben. Hello, Ben, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
yes, sir.
Okay,
It's
great.
gone
Thank
there.
you for sticking with us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we get started, in the packets that you received, there was an error on page 4. The wrong plan was listed. So I would like to hand out these updated page 4s. So let me talk a little bit about how we got to where we are today. We went out for our renewals, and we were fortunate to have a 10% increase come our way for our healthcare. And I say fortunate because we were capped at 10%, and it should have been much higher. One of the plans that we currently have is running a loss ratio of 468%. So after our meeting with Gallagher, I had called Ben a day or two later and said, hey, here's what I'd like you to do for us. I want to see if instead of balancing that 10% increase across the board, that if we could take that increase and adjust it as to where the increases are needed the most. So late, was it a week or so ago? I want to say it was either last Friday, not this past Friday, but the Friday before or that following Monday of last week. We got together with Ben, and one of the things that not only Gallagher is suggesting, but the holder of our policies, is that we cut our policies from 4 policies to 3 policies. So the first policy we're looking at cutting is that copay gold plan, which was the 468% loss. So ASBATE came back and they gave us 3 different options. They could give us a high deductibles plan, a value silver plan, a classic gold plan, and adding in a new classic silver plan. And that would take our rate increase from 10% to 4.1%. The second option that was provided to us was cutting it down to the 3 plans like the carrier and the broker have suggested. And that would be a high deductible plan, the value silver, and a classic gold plan. That moved our increase from 10% to 4.6%. The third option, and this is the option that we're bringing to you guys tonight, is a high deductible plan, the value silver plan, and a classic silver plan. With these 3 plans, our health insurance increase jumps all the way up to 0.2%. So we're gone from a 10% increase to a 0.2% increase. The employee premiums for each one of those plans is $415 for the high deductible plan, and this is on a monthly basis. The value silver is at $461, and the classic silver is at $519. And we believe with 100% confidence that as a district, we would be able to cover the employee-only portion for all 3 plans. It is important for us as the district administration to make sure that our employees don't think we just gave them a raise so that they can pay for healthcare costs. So that's one of the things that's driving us towards this plan. Ben, what am I missing? I'm missing something.
I think you've got it. What we've done, and Mr. President, Superintendent Rico, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and Mr. Schubert, thank you very much for allowing me to join you today. But the important thing is that third plan that we're talking about for the new classic silver plan, that plan there is bringing savings to the employees that are in the copay gold plan in their overall out-of-pocket worst-case scenarios in their costs, as well as it's a slight increase to the old classic gold plans. Then instead of a $240 deductible, it goes up to a $400 deductible for the tier 1 as an example. The advantage to this is, again, to help control the cost, to help share some of this cost, and as Mr. Schubert pointed out, the overall premiums at about a rate pass for everybody, for the overall premiums, allows the employees to actually keep their raises that they get. And again, the underwriting department with the ASBATE Trust actually came back this year for the first time ever in our history, allowing us to do the independent rate adjustments instead of doing a smoothing overall of having that 10%. So now we're able to show each plan and the expected increases.
And I'd also like to say that with the district covering all 3 plans for the employee-only rate, those employees that were to go with the high deductible health plan and sign up with the health savings account, the district would be putting in that $104 a month into their HSA accounts that they'd be saving by going onto that high deductible health plan. So with that, that just about covers, because I believe the out-of-pocket on the high deductible plan is $1,500. By the district putting in $1,200, that pretty much covers their out-of-pocket expense.
And also, I just want to add that we did meet with staff so that Greg could review with them the pre-plan options on what we were going to do, and wanted to get their feedback. So we met with certified staff and then we met with classified staff as well prior to making our decision.
And the overwhelming majority of our staff said go with the third option, which is the one that we presented you tonight. And I would be willing to answer any questions that I can and anything that I can't. That's why Mr. Ben's here, so.
motion on
We need a
the
motion
No, there's no
first.
motion. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee benefit proposal for 22-23.
I'll second.
Now we can discuss.
The only comment I have is, I opened this on Saturday night. I started to dig into it a little bit today, and there's 34 pages, and it's not just about the medical plan. It includes disability, it includes,
We also went out to bid for the ancillaries and
okay, I understand, but my chance of reviewing this in detail and even formulating questions, to me, is almost impossible. And I'm not questioning the research that has gone into this thing, but I don't feel comfortable personally on voting on a benefit package. Our benefits represent 26 to 30% of our salary. And it's a huge expense for the district, and I don't feel comfortable voting on something that I really haven't had a chance to look at and review and formulate questions to be answered.
What's the timeline on it?
so in order for us to meet our open enrollment dates, tonight we're looking for approvals. By April 28th, Gallagher will have completed their benefit hub so that we can begin the process of open enrollment on May 2nd.
And then it becomes effective for,
July 1st.
any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Geis?
Abstain.
Mr. McGivern?
Yes.
Mr. Ulrich?
Abstain?
She's still right.
Oh, and Mr. Osterling, I'm sorry.
Approved. Okay, thank you, Ben. And thank you very much for your work on this.
You're very welcome.
And
So you would also have to thank Ms. Alonso, she did quite a bit of work on this as well.
Yeah.
always a back to our heroes that we don't see. All right, the last item is our board and school events. How many weeks we got left? That's not our true count. 7 weeks?
26, 40.
Who's counting?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
So tomorrow we have family math night. So you see, we still have a lot of events going on. Friday is spring holiday, no school. We also have our learning walks, April 26th, so please let us know if you'd like to participate. We are planning to do an AM section and a PM section, so whatever time, you don't have to stay the whole time. If you can just come for an hour and visit one class and be part of the dialogue, that would be great. And you'll see all the promotion information there as well. We also will be live streaming our promotions. And we are not going to be limiting the guests that come in. We had a few questions about that. So since we've been operating business as usual, we're gonna have parents come and bring their family members like they have in the past.
And future agenda items, anyone? Okay, we'll skip that. And Ms. Kais, we'll just start with you. Anything you'd like to discuss quickly?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Allen?
I'm good. Good job, team.
All right, moving right along, Mr. McGill.
All out of wisdom.
Mr. Ulrich?
Just to, when will has a decision been made by the curriculum committee and the administration on the ELA choice?
So it is the committee's recommendation for benchmark advance, which is back here,
The benchmark?
benchmark advance.
And And when is it planned for that to come to the board for approval?
May meeting.
May meeting,
Our May
and does a
board.
60-day period, has it started already, or is a 60-day period start after that?
No, it started, it has to be up for public view for 60 days prior to board approval and recommendation.
So it's going on right
It's going
now,
on now,
and that 60-day period will end as of our board meeting?
yes.
I just have a request, I would like to sit in on a couple of classes, dual language classes, maybe like 5th grade and 3rd grade or something like that. If you could
Okay.
coordinate that,
Great.
obviously ELA class.
Yes, yes, definitely. You want to do kinder?
Pardon me?
Would you like to do kinder? Also, just one other thing I wanted to add, so we are having an executive session May. Board meeting, correct?
Right, at 4:45.
4:45.
And the only other comment I had, I came in here with a whole bunch of questions on the buses. And I gotta commend you for your research on that and your answers. Good work.
Thank you, sir. I'll pass that along to Mr. Blaine as well.
Yeah, I would concur on the bus. Just so you know, the last day, Splash Day, they're looking for volunteers to help out, so. I bet Ms. Monica could probably point us in the right direction. I gave that gal my number, but I don't know.
Okay.
So with that, we will, we got some paperwork to sign?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Rico, do you have an extra pen down there somewhere?
We do.
Oh, never mind, got it, thank you. There you go, all warmed up.
No, it's just.
I couldn't make a motion to change the background music.
It was kind of snappy, you didn't give it a chance.
It's very.
I didn't know they still made paper like this.